Hi, everyone. Welcome to a really exciting webinar. We got the man, the myth, the legend himself, the Godfather, Dr. John Brimhall with us. And as you're coming in from the waiting group there, please, we want to check and see, as always, if everything's working, because we are going to open it up for questions and answers. I know you're going to have a ton of them for Dr. John. So as you come on, go on the webinar chat, click on the webinar chat, and just type your name and where you're from. So want to make sure things are working on this end. Like I mentioned, we are going to save some time for questions and answers. So please do that. And oh, I need to put everyone on here. And as you come on, just again, your name, where you're from. Hey, Glenda, North Carolina, thanks for being with us. Got the office in the house right here. Becky and everyone's here. We got our whole team. Super excited for you all to be on with Dr. John and myself. And we have the rest of the team excited. Dr. Janine, thanks for being on. Dr. Janine, newest member of the advisory board. Dr. John said we need some beauty with all of us beasts. And so we were excited she agreed to come on board and help out there so that it doesn't look so bad when we're up on stage with our questions and answers. Dr. Lankering, thanks for being with us. Julie Clark, appreciate you being there. So just give another few seconds for everyone to jump on. Really excited about the interest for this webinar because Dr. John's going to be sharing some of these phenomenal new things that he's learned and the ability to come to the super seminar that I'll talk about in a second to learn from him. And we were talking the other day, I was talking to one of my friends that is out of Idaho that owns quite a large company, probably close to $1 billion. And we were talking about how there's very few left of the godfathers, the OGs, in the industry, and how we need to honor that, kind of like how we were with like World War II vets, you know, like, hey, when they're around, man, you need to learn from them. And we were just talking about that, about how it's crazy that it's not that they've all died off, it's that some of them have, of course, but some have actually moved to the other side where they've got sucked into this pharmaceutical mindset and there's not a lot that have held true. And Dr. John's one of those. So super excited. Welcome, Dr. John.
Hello.
Glad you're here with us.
Thank you.
And I'm going to jump in and kind of explain what we're going to be sharing with you today. And really a lot of it is about the new research and information and systems, products, tools that we're going to be sharing with you at the super seminar. And when talking with Dr. John and with Dr. Harris, we were trying to decide what the seminar's theme was going to be. We were talking about the theme for even the homecoming coming up in January. We'll do a little pitch for it too, because we're just, Dr. John had a phenomenal idea for it. But this, for the super seminar, we really took a look at what's happened since COVID, everything that's going on, and how bad the media hype is, that the narrative now is getting pushed so strong toward processed foods, chemicals, synthetic supplements, if you take supplements, pharmaceuticals and all that, that we no longer can play in both worlds. We have to draw the line. We have to get back to nature and draw the line in the sand, quit messing around. The doctors that are having some synthetics and some whole foods, or they do partially of the 6 steps and not completely, you know, they're the ones that aren't getting all the success, and they're basically sabotaging themselves. And so we're going to lay out some phenomenal new research, bring in some phenomenal speakers to really bring home to you the importance of drawing a line in the sand. So August 24th through 27th, back to nature in a very strong way. We'll talk more about it coming up, but I wanted to go through a few slides and then just turn the time over to Dr. John. One of the things that are really important that we've been talking about is you need to pick a war worth fighting and go all in. It's the best way to get motivated. You know, the Captain Cook burn the ships concept. The best thing you can do is say, okay, here's something worth fighting for, and I'm going to go all in. And we're at a point in time, I think, that I know in my lifetime, and Dr. John speak for his, that I've never seen a point in time more important for us to draw the line in the sand, that we absolutely need to, we can't float, on this subject of holistic health, of nutritional medicine, and just as, Thomas Edison talked about. And so we're going to be going over really in depth and bringing some speakers in to talk about the true history of the tobacco companies and how they've come in and they're using the same marketing techniques now that they've bought Kraft, General Mills, all of these things that they use to convince people in the day with Joe Camel. And then they bought, the fruit drink companies and made the Hawaiian guy. And then Marlboro got involved and bought Kool-Aid. And, you see the resemblances in marketing, and all they did is switched it from tobacco to processed sugary foods and got away from plant-based foods, got away from probiotics, got away from these initial fibers that are critical from our food, so that we'll be dependent on them and either be dependent on the processed food companies or the pharmaceutical companies, both, right? One of them brings you in, another keeps you there. And so we're going to be going through a lot of that in great detail at the Super Seminar, giving you some information I guarantee you've never heard. We're bringing in a couple experts we'll talk about that will share with you, not the information, just the information that we have here on the screen about the history and why it's important to use whole foods, but also they're going to give you some stories from the trenches of, being a part of this disaster that we've gone through over the last few years of being basically pushed to take certain shots and do different things. And so the importance of getting back to nature, obeying that, the importance of enzymes in food. Dr. John's going to be going into great detail of that, and the plant-based importance from the points of prebiotics, of the nutrients and all those things. So real quick on on who's going to be speaking, then we're going to turn it over to Dr. John. Some of the keynotes, a lot of you, out of all of the people we brought in, besides the comments of Dr. John and Dr. Harris and myself, of all the other speakers we brought in, Chris Smith was one that we got the most comments back from doctors at seminars saying that was phenomenal. Like, we'd love to hear that about, making a stand with your brand and all that. So he's created a whole new talk for this seminar. We're bringing in a couple new people that you've never seen. One of them is a master's degree, soon to PhD student training at Cambridge in the UK. Phenomenal person that's going to be talking about the difference between how do you take food and get it into a capsule or into a powder and obey the laws of nature, and what's that process and how tough is it and who truly is doing it versus all these synthetics and chemicals that are out there. And he's going to tell you, you're going to learn so much about processing and the foods with him, Brendan Kessler. And then Joel Evans is going to be there. He was a cop in San Francisco, chose not to get the shot and got fired, and has just been on the warpath ever since on a holistic journey, and a phenomenal story. So they're going to be speaking. I'm going to be talking on these subjects of nature and those types of things. Dr. Harris on alkaloids, cellular senescence. Dr. Porter's coming in, giving a different talk on grounding yourself, about the importance of grounding and frequencies. Dr. Cook's going to be talking about pressure points and overcoming outside pressures. And the great, as I mentioned, Dr. Janine Ridgway is going to be teaching us systems in our clinic. So all that's happening, but that's not what today's about. What today's about is Dr. John and what he's going to be sharing at Super Seminar that's totally different. Now, as I set up Dr. John to come on right now, I want everyone to understand we've really made this significant master plan, if you would. The Super Seminar is about subjects where Dr. John and Dr. Harris and the rest of us can go in and deep dive on one subject and really bring out the essence of that, a lot different than the other seminars. We want you to come to the Super Seminar in January with your whole clinic to come to learn the 6 steps, to learn the critical factors that you've come to know with Dr. John, with his seminar every year. But we try to change it up at the Super Seminar and to be able to have Dr. John, Dr. Harris, and all these outside speakers come in to bring you some very specific topics so that you're then able to take these topics and make some big decisions in your clinic. Like, we're wanting you to draw the line in the sand. And then you'll go back and then you'll come back again in January and get a lot more of the practical applications at homecoming. And it's just a great synergy between them. But at this seminar, super seminar, antibiotics, probiotics, plant field fiber, and then again on natural emotional balance, plus the benefit of having Dr. John there all weekend and being able to answer questions and be around and be able to actually bump up next to him and talk to him. Unlike that, it doesn't happen as much as some of the other seminars. He's going to be there and be around and be a part of that. So Dr. John, thanks for joining us today.
Very good. Happy to be here. Got a lot to say. I'm going to talk real fast, which is not unusual, but I want to cover as much as I can to give you some insights to what's going on. It's really interesting to me. Doug and Mark and I all been basically in a wheelchair at one time from injury, and chiropractic helped us all. And Dr. Harris's technique that he developed with injections of D5W, dextrose, got him out of the wheelchair. But chiropractic got Doug and I out of the wheelchair, off crutches, whatever. So our dedication to this is because our life was changed. And my goal was to help everybody else as much as I was helped, which is a pretty big bill to fill. Meaning I went from thinking I would never be able to practice to running around like an idiot still at 76. And it's this thing about being a fossil. I'm fossil fuel. I'm sorry, I'm not electric yet, but I'm definitely fossil fuel. When I came to Arizona in 1971 and started practice, I was born and raised here, but my license number is 669. That's 669. There was under 1,000 practitioners that had ever been licensed in Arizona in chiropractic. Now it's 20 in the 20,000s. So what has happened in my lifetime, in 52 years of practice, is not even a way to try to gauge it down here in the next 10 hours, much less in 30 minutes. But I studied under Goodhart. I studied under Gonstead, DeJarnette, Lee Fuhr, back before Dr. Fuhr was the chief, but Lee was the best doctors. There's not a name you can mention, the Cox brothers, and Gonstead himself. I went right up to Mount Oro, Wisconsin. You really can't replace anything with experience. And I probably have some of the most experience in chiropractic right now in the world. I don't know who else has had much more that's still alive. A lot of these guys are gone. Gonstead's gone. Goodhart is gone. DeJarnette is gone. But their knowledge is not gone. Gonstead's not gone. I use his techniques every day in my life and practice. So if nothing else, you should come like to a zoo to watch this fossil.
Well, can I mention something about that that's really interesting? One of the great things about Dr. John that I really want to mention that has hit me hard lately, and it was based on talking to a guy named Tony Robbins that you're going to refer to in a minute. Tony said this, it was me and him and a guy named Russell Brunson, and he's like, look, there's people that say they have 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years experience, and it's a bunch of BS. He says most people that say they have 40 years experience have 1 year of experience 40 times. They never grew. And yet they're saying, they have this. What you heard from Dr. John, I think is really critical here, is he not only learned from these people, but he's taken it, and every year, even now in his practice, learning and growing from it. So it's all these decades of experience, but more importantly, growth every year in that experience. And there's a big difference. We've seen a lot of people that have been on the hamster wheel and they claim, I've been doing this for so many years, but you're in the same place. And that's the neat thing about Dr. John, is he's not in the same place. He's taken and used that year every year to grow. And there's a big difference between years of experience and those that have actually added onto each year with new experiences and knowledge. So anyways, just wanted to mention that, Dr. John.
That couldn't be truer. In fact, I'd have patients say, I never know from week to week if I come in here, what's going to be different. I mean, you never do the same thing twice. I say, well, if I have to do the same thing twice, why didn't you do it right the first time? And as Doug says, well, people always wonder what's going to be new. Are you kidding me? Dr. Harris reads in English, Russian, and German, keeps up in the literature every day. If you tell me you know everything he knows, then you don't need to come anymore. And I'm reading and studying 3 to 5 books at a time. I'm creating new products and new services and new techniques. And I still treat mainly because people won't leave me alone, number one. But number two, because it keeps me in the game, keeping my mind going. What do we need to do? What do we need to innovate? Now, Brandy, when she was before the twins were born, especially a little bit afterwards, she was going around every week to clinics and evaluating the clinics to see how well they were doing the 6 steps, to see how well they were doing the billing and collections and all that type of thing. And you know what she found? 1 out of 50 did the entire 6 steps. It was a heartbreaker to me. Now, we taught a seminar for years called How to Clone $1 Million Practice. Well, where did we come up with that title? Because I did them over $1 million 10 years in a row. And people said, well, I couldn't get anybody in. My waiting list was 3 to 4 months. When Mark quit, his waiting list was 5 months. When you get results, you don't have to worry about advertising. You have to worry about how to get a day off and, you know, how to not have people call you and they text you all night long. That's why Dr. Harris doesn't practice anymore. He got tired of being the walking Google. Now, to come to the seminar just to hear him is worth it. And he will treat and he will teach at the seminars, but that's the only time he will. The rest of the time, if somebody wants to ask a question, they have to call me and I pass it on to him. He won't let me give them your email or anything else. And so we're going to talk about Fibre Fuel. We're going to talk about the diabetes code. We're going to talk about the obesity code. We're going to talk about Life Force by Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins was a patient of mine. I treated Tony right here in the Mesa office. And he's as big as they say he is. He's huge. The size of his foot is like the size 11, that type of thing. And why I bring Tony up at this stage is Dr. Mark's going to be there. Dr. Mark's going to do some injections of the D5W of those of you who are in chronic pain. He's going to do some of the stem cells of those of you who want that. It's not part of the seminar, but he's there to be there for the seminar. We do this ahead of time to keep them separate, but to make it available to you. So if you want stem cells, if you want special injection treatment, you want a special appointment with Dr. Harris, let Jason know at my office. You have to call Jason at Brimhall, and then he'll help set this up and we'll have him there. But Tony is an amazing guy. And the only reason I had him put his book in here at this time is he's the one in this whole book, Life Force. That's what I was taught in chiropractic school. It's the life force. The egg and the sperm get together and they make a person. That's all they need to do is get together. The body needs no help. It needs no interference. And you interfere with phthalates. You interfere with all the toxic chemicals they're spraying on. You interfere with bad diet. You interfere innate intelligence or life force with all these bad things. We're teaching you the good things. In fact, to draw this line in the sand, I want it in concrete. If Brandy's going around and only a few of you are doing all 6 steps the way we teach it, let's get this line drawn in concrete. Let's start in the sand, then let's make that concrete out of the sand so we know that you know. Like I said, people are worried about, is there anything new? There's so much new, you can't keep up with what we're going to show you. So let's go back to Fibre Fuel. I've made a study, and you know, I graduated second in my class. I was beat out by first by 0.02, 2/100ths of a point of being valedictorian. And I'm not smart, I'm not like Mark, but I'm persistent and I'm dedicated to this profession and to health and to healing. And I learned more by reading Fibre Fuel and about reading the diabetes code that I think put everything together I've ever done in 52 years of practice and the many years. I have two bachelor's degree and a doctorate. And I just to highlight a teeny bit about Fibre Fuel here, it talks about how advanced Doug is. Here's a guy who's a gastroenterologist. Not only that, but he has a master's degree in research. He didn't believe in all this natural crap. He was a gastroenterologist. But what he found out, he started getting sick and he got it heavy and he couldn't get it off. And he started going with a girl who was a vegetarian. He thought, how ridiculous. I take her to this nice steak place and she orders vegetables. And then he found out, wow, she was hot and she was energetic. And he said, how could this possibly be? There's probably no research that says this is good. And he started reading the literature and having a master's in research. He found out there are thousands of research studies that eat the way Dr. Harris eats and the way Doug teaches. In fact, Mark wishes Doug would quit feeding you guys at the seminars like you want, make you eat all the stuff that we eat at home. Okay, so we'll work on that. Dr. Harris is watching. He keeps track on what disappears out there on the table. But he literally is a true vegan. I'm just going to give you a couple of it says the engine that drives the human health isn't human at all. And this is the Fibre Fuel, the same book as you're seeing on the screen. The 21st century life, overfed, undernourished, and hypermedicated. Think of that. Overfed, undernourished, and hypermedicated. And he says, now, here's a gastroenterologist, MD, honors in all areas. He's got to be about as smart as Mark as I listen to him talk and read to him. And that's hard to do. It's incredible the research that he gives you to show you why you need to eat more plants and less meats, and definitely no sugar. Sugar is a plague of humankind. And we don't have time to go into it a great deal here, but believe me, we will agonize over it both at Super Seminar and at Homecoming. When we have already got the plan rolling to there to carry you over these next 7, 8, 9, 10 months to be able to do all 6 steps, to be able to be certified, to be able to understand what Mark knows and what Doug teaches in using the right nutrition. If we're overfed, how do we get undernourished? Because we're eating garbage, right? And we're hypermedicated. The next one is the fiber solution, short chain fatty acids. The reason it's so important that you eat multiple plants is each plant breaks down into short chain fatty acids. Those short chain fatty acids, each one of them makes a new probiotic. So the probiotic we use from OHS, I use every day. I sell it to every patient that comes in. That, the digestive enzymes, adrenal, every patient every day. Those are my every patient every days. But I did not realize till I read this book that everything I ate made its own probiotics. So we're not only what we eat, we're also what our probiotics eat. And if you are craving sweets, you're eating sweets and they make their own probiotics and want more sweets. If you're eating meats, I like meat. I'm a meat and potato guy. I just don't eat much anymore after I really understand this. Or butter or cream, I still eat some. But when you eat non-plant-based foods, they make the probiotics that make you crave them and to help you digest them. And all animal-based products are pro-inflammatory. All vegetable products are anti-inflammatory. And we know that inflammation is the underlying root of whether it's cancer or arthritis or chronic fatigue syndrome. You have to cut down the acid foods, the foods that make the probiotics that crave them. But number one, we got to get rid of the sweets. Here's another one, the fiber solution, short chain fatty acids. Eat the rainbow to find your pot of gold. Finding your plant passion with a sensitive gut. Here's one that Doug could have written this article, fermentation, the nation rising. Fermenting foods, fermenting nutrition is so advanced. There's only a few people even talking about it, and Doug has it available for you. I mean, Doug is way ahead of the industry, and we know that. And we know his patents and the food that we have. And this guy says the solution to all diseases, and he calls diseases, is nutrition. What you eat and the nutrition that you take, the added to it. And the more you have it natural and whole food, which is all we have, and the more it's fermented, the more productive it is, and the more you can regrow and repair and rebuild your body. So time-wise, that's where I'm going to have to quit. But it's a thick book, guys, and I've read it and listened to it now about 5 times, and I think I need about another 5 to really own it, like Doug has it and like Mark has it. Very good. The next one I want to talk about is the diabetes code. Even a year ago, I had a patient that came in from Tucson, which is a couple-hour drive from here, and she was diabetic, and she'd been diagnosed diabetic, and she said, "I've gone off my insulin. I'm not going to take it anymore." And my mind goes, well, gee, how is she going to get off her diabetes if her blood sugar is high? Won't she die sooner? And when you read the diabetes code, which is by Dr. Fung, he's also an MD. He's also an internist and a specialist. And he found the more he treated patients with what medicine told him to do, the sicker they got, the fatter they got, and the quicker they died. The research in this book is like, it never stops. I've listened to this book on Audible, plus I have it and I underlined it at home. But it's like, I'm through it on the 3rd time right now, and I just can't even remember all the stuff that he's telling me. I need Mark's photographic memory of the different studies he's quoting. But number one is sugar is the enemy. Sugar is the enemy. And when you are diabetic, it doesn't mean you're deficient in sugar. It means you are eating too much sugar. When you eat too much sugar, the body releases insulin to try to keep you from getting too much sugar in there. So the AMA, the American Dietetics Association, and all of the medical facilities out there, according to this guy, are our enemy. They've been telling us exactly the wrong thing to do. Let me give you a quick example, which we'll go over ad nauseum at the seminar, both Homecoming and both Super Seminar. When your blood sugar is high, we know you become desensitized to insulin. Why has the body done that? It did it on purpose because you're getting too much sugar in the blood. So what medicine does is gives you drugs first and then insulin second, which gets more sugar in the blood that's already full. The example he gives you is that you have a suitcase. You're going to go. My wife just spent 2 weeks in Italy, came home 6 days and went 2 weeks in Mexico. And believe me, those suitcases suffer. And that's what we do with our body. When we get ready to travel, we want to make sure, meaning eating, we eat too much of the wrong thing. And let's look at a suitcase here. It's a nice big empty suitcase. It's good. You pile clothes into it so you have everything when you get there. But what happens is you want more than the suitcase will hold. So what you do is you have somebody jump up and down on the suitcase while you're putting them in so you can get more in there. So you have everything when you get there. Or we could take a few things out maybe we don't really need and just put in what we need to keep the suitcase under 50 pounds and not have to pay extra. When we are diabetic and our blood sugar is high, the worst thing Dr. Fung says we can do is to give them insulin to drive more sugar into the blood. When you drive sugar into the blood that's already full, it's like cramming more in a suitcase. You already have too much in. When you get more blood sugar, why is the blood sugar high? Because it already has all it needs. It doesn't want anymore. It doesn't need anymore. Stop. Don't give them insulin that drives more in the not only in the blood, but then it forces it into the glands and the organs and the fat tissues. Because we know when we get too much sugar, it's converted to fat. Why do you think we get the fat ring around the belly? Because we have too much sugar. And he said, and his patients would ask him, well, you say I'm diabetic and you say weight is my worst enemy. You gave me insulin. I've gained another 20 pounds. And he said, yeah, well, that's what the American Dietetic says. That's what I was taught in medical school. And he said, it's wrong. It's the worst wrong thing we can do. When you eat more sugar and you're desensitized to insulin, the body desensitizes it, to repeat myself, because it doesn't want any more in the cells. The cells and the blood are already full. So when you force more in there, you make a cell that's already full of sugar even have more sugar. And he said that would be like being putting garbage under your bed because you don't have any place to put it. Or you put it in your closet, you put it out in your car. Because every day the sugar man comes by and gives you more sugar, and you drive it into the tissue cells by taking the drugs or taking insulin. And now these cells have more sugar. So what's the side effect of that? You go blind. You get toes and fingers you have to cut off and throw away. You have a poor immune system, and you die of a heart attack 50% more than people that don't have diabetes. And the more insulin we give people, the sooner they die of diabetes or these other insulin problems that I mentioned. You're causing the cells to rot. Well, then what do you do when your blood sugar is high? Quit eating so damn much sugar. If you have too much sugar, don't eat it anymore. And how do you get it out of there? Because here's another problem. We eat sucrose. Sucrose is half fructose, half sucrose, and half fructose. Well, we say, well, eat fructose because it doesn't require insulin, but it requires the liver to break it down. When the liver tries to break it down and it gets full, it then starts to store the fructose and the sugar in the liver. You now develop a fatty liver. Alcoholic liver kills alcoholics. Non-alcoholic fatty livers kills non-alcoholics with a liver, which is right now over 50% of Americans, listen to the statistic, over 50% of Americans are pre-diabetic or diabetic. Holy moly. And we want to cram more in there with more insulin or more drugs that drive it into the body. The only way you can really get rid of a fatty liver, now this is a real dirty word, I hate to say it on public transport, you have to fast. Dr. Harris has been telling us that. When you fast, and Dr. Fung and also Dr. Bolshevich in his book say we need to fast at least 2 days a week. They recommend 12 to 16 to 24 hours, but let's say a 24-hour fast. A 24-hour fast twice a week. And by doing that, every diabetic they've had becomes non-diabetic. Even if they've been diabetic for 15 or 20 years, the blood glucose goes down, the long-term 3-month study goes down, and you have all the symptoms go down. You quit losing your arteries and your toes, and you quit losing your brain function. And what are they now calling Alzheimer's? Diabetes 3. Why would they do that? Because the blood sugar gets high in the brain, it rots your brain, the same as it rots your pancreas and your stomach. Now, here's something I did not know, and I've got it. I think Doug's almost giving me this sign here. You're getting right. Wait, make him come to the seminar. Well, believe me, I have scratched a very small surface that you need to learn and what we'll have available for you. When you get too much sugar in the body, it crams it in the liver. It also crams it in the pancreas. That's what makes the body not able to produce insulin anymore. If you fast those 2 days a week and quit eating so much sugar in between, and you do the intermittent fasting where you do eat, but all of it in 1 time or 2 times a day and have a whole space in between, the longer you fast, the more you detoxify, the less fat you have in the liver, the less fat you have in your pancreas, the less fat you have in your muscles. So fibromyalgia really gets its underlying cause from eating so much sugar, the body's deposited in the muscles. It can't get rid of the sugar too much. Goes in your liver, goes in your pancreas, goes in your muscles. It goes all over the place. So we want to, number 1, quit eating it. And number 2, fast intermittently and with 24-hour fast or 36-hour fast twice a week, if possible. And it burns that excess sugar and problems out of there. Is that starting to make sense to you now? So
let me make a comment on that too, Dr. Brimhall. And that is that we've been working, and IT's in here, so I'm going to put them under the fire here. We're going to actually have for the doctors at the super seminar a new ability to help their patients with the fasting, some ability for them to utilize some technology just to help them get people to track, just to make it easier to track. I mean, there's not a tool for fasting, you got to not eat, but as far as being able to track and give some ability to them to know what's happening during their fast, and when they're able to have growth hormone increase and all this stuff. So it's going to be really, really cool. And the cool thing about Dr. Brimhall, Dr. Harris, myself, and Dr. Janine is that we're all big fans of the fasting. And I'm a 72-hour fast fan. Big time, because of just being able to stay anabolic, right? Going for longer periods of time than doing 3. Dr. Harris fasts, every day of the year, pretty much, and Dr. John talking about, about a couple days a week. So the cool thing is there's a lot of options there, but the key is to be able to get the cells and be able to get them into a state that they can be cleansed. And I know it's overused sometimes with the intermittent fasters, but to be able to get into the autophagy is really critical. And the neat thing about some of the things you'll hear at Super Seminar besides this is then how to feed the cell as it's coming out of that fast. And that's really, really critical with the fiber-fueled type diet, the prebiotics, the foods you put in, the probiotics that are created from that. And we're going to be talking a lot about that too, about the 21-day challenge and the importance of, putting patients on that. And coming out of the fast, what you do with the body determines how it resets. You just can't come out of the fast and be doing junk. So really excited about that. Dr. John, I know we're short on time. Do you want to mention something else about Life Force for a minute, and then we'll jump into it?
Real quickly. So we're going to be talking about, I don't like fasting. I get hungry, but guess what? We need to do it. But even if you just quit eating sugars like Mark has recommended all along, that would help a lot. But you need to fast so you burn the fatty liver down and all the stuff in the muscles. And now peripheral neurology, we've had all kinds of courses on help cure peripheral neurology. And now that I'm really reading this, peripheral neurology is caused from too much sugar. You get excess sugar, it stores in the muscles rot too, and you wind up with all kinds of problems. So that's important. The other thing that I demonstrated, I don't know how we can see that at all, not very well. Let's see what we do here. Is I did a lot of demonstrating the Gladiator at the seminar. We put this on people. We have learned doing stem cells that if you laser them before you put them in, it almost doubles the effectivity of the stem cells in the body. If we use the Gladiator, which is ceramics in a pad, a whole bunch of them, that it literally increases the usability of stem cells up to 400%, the research is showing. So we'll demonstrate that, and I'm from the pop-up, I'll show that a little bit. We'll have them there that we demonstrate how they energize the body. And when I'm treating with patients, I now treat with one on the patient, almost every patient I see. And the people that are really bad, I have them get them, take them home and use them because they regenerate the tissues. You know, Ted Carrick is one of the brightest minds I know. I'd probably have to put him up close to Dr. Harris. I don't know about all the different things, but that, yeah, if we can go back to Gladiator just a second here, that's the pad that we put on. It helps pain, it helps regeneration. But let's just say I do muscle testing on somebody and I found 10 weak muscles. I found compression showing disc injury. When I put the Gladiator on, all the indicators go away. It energizes the tissue so much. And Dr. Carrick believes it actually even helps cells or genetic SNPs to not malfunction. And we do that through the nutrition and Dr. Harris's testing. But now with this, when they wear it, all the findings go away. So I can't test them with it on them. So we'll demonstrate that too. So to not come to Super Seminar would be a silly thing. To not come to Homecoming and plan it already for the third week in January, that'd be a silly thing to do. Now, if you know everything Dr. Harris knows and everything Doug knows and everything I know and Dr. Cook and Dr. Porter, then I guess don't come. Other than that, come and share the time with us.
Absolutely. And I know that you'd mentioned about every patient every day and OptiAdrenal. We will be introducing some new technology. Dr. Brimhall just kind of brought out about the Gladiator. We're going to be introducing some technology on giving you some tools for even hair analysis that we've never done, which Dr. Brimhall has some great history on it. We have some new product changes they're going to be talking to you about. The list goes on and on. So even if you're coming to get refreshed on some things, there are some brand new, absolutely first time you'll ever hear about them, things that we're holding off till Super Seminar. That's hard for people like me and Dr. John. We want to talk about them all the time, but we want to be able to do that. And the reason I want to bring Adrenal up right now too is for those of you that haven't signed up for Super Seminar yet, again, the Super Seminar is really, really critical. Let me get to that date, August 24th through 27th in Tucson. We have some phenomenal things going on for you. And we're also got some great things for the group, meaning we're going to have some outdoor dancing type things with showing you how to do country stuff here from Arizona. And we're going to be doing some fun things just to build more of a relationship with you all. But it's going to be in a setting so that you can truly draw the line in the concrete, I guess, as Dr. John mentioned. But for those of you that have already signed up, we encourage you, because of the discounts, to have some of your staff be there, different brands. For those of you who haven't signed up yet, please do. We are going to be giving, for those of you that sign up today or in the morning, either additional staff member or for the first time yourself, we're going to, on top of the low pricing and the tiered pricing that's available right now, it will be going up. You're going to get 10 additional bottles of OptiAdrenal, Dr. Brimhall's #1 formula, for free for signing up. So you're pretty much getting the cost of the seminar just by the fact of you're getting the 10 bottles of the OptiAdrenal for free. So that's just only good for tonight. The reps are still here for another 30 minutes and then in the morning till noon. So please make sure you do that and your rep will contact you. So if you purchase online, your rep will call you or you can call in and do that. So super.
That's one thing I'd like to mention real quick. One thing we're going to show you with the fiber fuel type diet and the diabetes code situation is how we use the OHS products to help carry you through there. Adrenal, of course, every patient every day, but also we're going to show you how liver kidney is such an incredible product to help get that sugar out of the liver. We're going to show you how to use the blood sugar balancing nutrition that Doug has developed. So we're going to show you a lot of different ways to utilize the nutrition in the recovery process and to change around these degenerative diseases people are bringing on themselves.
Yeah. And, as a part of that, one thing, since, there's some new research out that Dr. Kessler that's coming is going to share with you. And I know this is going to be big for Dr. John. There's some brand new research. This guy's getting his PhD in a whole new area of research. And it's the phytonutrients that are in fiber that we didn't know about till just the last few years, that there's some specific phytonutrients, antioxidants in fiber that is only in fiber that your body's probiotics absolutely need. And we're taking the fiber out of everything. And that's one of the big problems. And we're actually adding more fiber of a very, very special form of fiber with antioxidants into the complete nutrition powder, just because of the new research that Dr. John's talking about from Fibre Fuel, the research you're going to hear about from this doctor. So I'm letting a little bit of the cat out of the bag, but there is some brand new research that comes to the fact that if we'd been obeying the laws of nature all along, I think that's what we're talking about, Dr. John, right? If we'd have been eating the vegetables all along, we wouldn't be having these issues, because we'll never create anything supplementally better than nature. We just learn and we keep adding to, and we keep, let's keep the fermentation process higher. Let's keep doing these things because we learn new stuff. But it's really, the key is to get back to those basics of the fiber fuel type diet, of our nutrition. And as Dr. John said, we're going to teach you how to do that with the patient, but promoting the nutritional support products, being able to have the systems in place to build your practice financially. The cloning the $1 million clinic that we talked about is really critical. And I'll mention one more thing, and I'm going to let you close, Dr. John. We'll give the last few minutes, and we'll open up for questions and answers for about 5 minutes. The last thing I want to share is really this, is that we're going to hit hard the importance of you doctors to be able to get your personal income up through the use of the systems, using the 6 steps to wellness, using the formulas and that. And we're going to go even harder on that. We've got comments before. Why does Dr. John talk about the importance of cloning $1 million clinic? Why does Dr. Harris, why does Doug talk about doctors? We want you to make money. We want you to make money. Because the ultimate scenario is for a patient to walk in that door and for you to be able to treat them no matter what, not having finances be a factor there, that you have to be able to pay for your lights and the electricity and your staff, that you have enough income coming in from a residual standpoint that you don't have to worry, that you can be in the right frequency, you can feel the needs of the patient, and you can act without finances being a part of it for the patient or for you. And that's a great place to be. Dr. John will charge someone 20 grand, he'll charge the next person nothing and probably open his wallet and give him money, right? But he knows that based on the frequency of the patient and being able to feel that. And you have to eliminate the financial burden to be able to be in that place mentally, to be at that level of frequency. And so we are going to be teaching you even more how to build that income. Dr. Janine is someone that's done it recently, that went from, needing to worry about the finances to not having to worry about them at all. And we're going to share with you those principles. So that's another factor that we didn't talk about, Dr. John, that's so critical. I think even in a lot of your success is you've been able to be at the right frequency with the patients without that burden, from the side, because you built your clinic to be able to make a profit.
Absolutely. And we don't learn any of that in school. In fact, I was raised in a very, very modest home, as I know you were. And but when you get there and you get on fire, the money follows itself. And then when you realize, gosh, the more money I make, the more I can help people at a greater level. I can buy a laser if I need it. I can have the HHS nutrition. So if they run out, I have an extra dozen sitting on the shelf. The interesting thing, I've been debt free since I was in my 40s. I made my first $1 million when I was 40 years old. And it was never about the money. I never even thought about how much money do we make or anything other than we had to pay the bills to start with. But I never had a month I didn't make money and could pay my bills and didn't grow. But literally a true story is, Claudette told me one day, he said, he made $1 million last year? That's when we were down here in the Mesa office. I said, no, how many zeros is that? She says, you're ridiculous. You don't even know. I said, I'd never thought about making $1 million. It wasn't a goal. What my goal was to help every patient that came through the door to change their life like mine was changed. And the money took care of itself, but I had to learn how to do it. There's a very sequence. You do right things, you get the right outcome. But it's very exciting not to have any payments. I don't know anybody anything except Doug. He makes me work all the time. But it's interesting when you can just practice for fun. I mean, I'm 76 years old. Why don't you retire? And do what? I can't fish every day. My wife would get upset. So I can pretend and I can play and I can see patients during the week and continue to innovate. One thing we haven't talked enough about, and we'll go over the super seminar more, is the new Glandular that Doug made for us. I worked and cried and, I lay on the ground and kicked and screamed a few times, and we have a wonderful Glandular. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Because when you take glandulars, they don't make the right probiotics for anti-inflammatory. What they do is jumpstart each of the organ systems to start working better. So we'll talk about that more then, but take a look at the new Glandulars that we have available from there.
All
Other
right.
than that, good.
No, bring them home and I'll give the last little talk about super.
No, I think it's time to go home. Go have your vegetables. Okay.
I love it. Well,
But the
thanks, Doc.
interesting part I want to say again, Doug alluded to it just a minute ago. When you eat a vegetable, every vegetable that you eat that's different makes a different probiotic. So and Susie is such an incredible cook, and cookie has a lot of it's raw. But if we have a salad, it's going to have 5 kinds of salad in there. I mean, it's going to have kale, and it's going to have arugula, and it's going to have raw lettuces, 5 different kinds in there, plus cabbage. And so that means I just got 5 or 6 different probiotics I'm growing on my own. The other part of that is in the book, it tells you how to use different seeds. So I have flaxseed in mine. I have hemp seeds in mine. I have sesame seeds. I have all the type of seeds. And another thing that they point out in both of the books is the insanity that we were taught that fats are bad is nothing short of insanity. High blood sugar comes from sugar, not from fats. So we teach you to eat the right fats, the right seeds and nuts, because they have good ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that, we keep. When we first came out with the essential fatty acid product, people said, well, you're going to miss out on a whole group of people because you're not having a fish oil. We're like, no, you don't understand. You need from flaxseed, borage, you need the algae that the fishes get their EFA from and their DHA and all of that. And, it's funny, we got caught flag for it when now the research is extremely powerful, showing that's where you need to get your fats is from those flax seeds, the borage, the different types of very specific herbs and nutrients and seeds, not seed oils, but from the seeds themselves. So real excited. Again, doctors, please, I think that I can't explain to you enough of how much work we're putting into these two main seminars here, Super Seminar and Homecoming. Totally different, but being able to come to enjoy what each one has to offer, and extremely excited about what we're going to be able to present there. And if you're coming for no other reason, then come for the knowledge of Dr. John being there, Dr. Harris, myself, and some of these other great speakers. And then for the benefit of the things that we're going to be launched there, that you'll be able to leave the seminar on Sunday and then Monday be able to implement them in your clinic. And that last thing is this, is that we did get questions here in the chat about, is anything going to be also taught about peptides? Yes, there's going to be some things taught about the stem cells. You can be able to get stem cell injections. There's going to be talk on the peptides and how you're now that the IRB through the doctor that Dr. John and Dr. Harris lined out, be able to be under that umbrella. And we're actually going to Sunday afterwards stay for those that want to, the extra 4 hours and have the peptide additional little seminar. So we'll give you more information about it, but it's included in the price of the seminar. That was another question of people asking about the cost of the additional breakout of the peptide. And there won't be an additional charge for it. Dr. Harris will be there, myself, Dr. John. And so all of these other things, whether it be the stem cells, whether it be the peptides, whether it be the Gladiator stuff, and all the vendors are going to be there. You're going to have all these other support tools, but the foundation is your nutrition. The foundation is the whole food supplements and the glandulars, and learning how to implement them at an even higher level. And the way to do it is to draw the line in the sand, take a stand for being holistic and obeying the laws of nature. And we're going to help you do that. And you want to be around people like that to be able to build up and to have the strength to go back to be able to really hold that line. So thank you so much. Again, let us know about how many you're going to be bringing. This location, this resort is very special, and we've reserved some block of rooms for all of you right nestled next to the mountain. So make sure you get in quick, and we'll have a great time. Dr. John, thanks for taking your time and sharing it with us. And we'll look forward to seeing everyone in August in Tucson.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.